Hello? Can you hear me? Oh, no, of course not. I haven't enabled your vocal unit yet. Right, how about now? Hello, 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 hello. Can you see and or hear me? Actually, preferably both. But confirmation that you can see and hear me would be appreciated. I'm looking at the chat. Looking at the chat. Through dirty glasses. I just cleaned these. How are they dirty again? It makes no sense. Hey! You can see and hear me. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, first of all, Crimson sends her apologies this evening. She isn't very well, so she isn't joining us tonight. So she sends her apologies. That's my phone telling me that someone on YouTube's gone live, which is me, because I have my YouTube account and my non-YouTube account, my Say Hi Paul account and my normal Paul account, and I use my normal Paul account to look at what the Say Hi Paul account's doing. Yes. So what are we doing this evening? So yes, it's a ramble. So kind of usual format. Let me. Again, you can see the tail wandering across the screen. It isn't just a tail on a stick. There is a cat attached to it. You can see cat. So I'll have a bit of a ramble about what I've been doing this last week. I'll try and keep that mostly hobby related, but it's sort of I have difficulty in detaching my hobby brain from my other brain, so they kind of intermingle. So I'll be all over the place, I'm sure. The main subject of tonight's ramble is I'm going to pull out questions from the Discord. Eldar Blog, you legend, thank you very much. More cola sponsorship. I noticed you're not saying Coke anymore because I'm still working through the Pepsi Max, but someone has put me onto the fact that I can get caffeine-free Diet Coke from Amazon. So I shall be doing that when this stash runs out. So I'm going to pick out questions from Discord, and I'm going to do a bit of rambling with the chat. If I don't see your question and I don't get to it, my apologies. I'm multitasking with very, very little RAM. Very little RAM. Morrison said, yes, but it involves leaving the house. I want someone to bring it to me in large boxes of cans so I can sit them next to me. And yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. I can get it in bottles from Tesco, but then a drink is a 2-litre bottle, and you get through a lot that way. So I've made the chat subscribers chat this evening. So hello to those of you who are subs, and if anyone fancies a cheeky channel membership, you'll get a nice little picture of my head next to your name, and I'll see. Oh, there, remember. So I'm going to be less coherent than normal at the moment because my brain isn't great at the minute. I've alluded to this in previous things. And for those of you who watched the very early days deployment zone vlogs I did during the first lockdown, I talk about my issues. I have no problem with talking about them. It's nothing compared to the problems that Mr. Winters has experienced. But they still sometimes I don't have lots of bandwidth in the brain when things are very busy. Not much thinking and talking about things that I already know. Easy. It's like there's a little processor. It's like the data storage and the mouth. When they're directly connected, fine, no problem. But if it has to go through the processor, and the processor is sort of like rusted and scabby, not working terribly well. I also had horrible earache last week, and I'm going to try and still keep head onto the camera because I've got gammy ears, and my beard is hiding the gammy ears at the moment, and my eye's still a bit funny, but hopefully the resolution isn't good enough for you to see my gammy eye as well. So, so rambling. What else have I done this week? I have been, I think, quite a bit of hobbying at the weekend. I have been painting night haunts because I've had a bit of a, it's Games Workshop's fault, really. I mean, some of you may have seen an unboxing video I did a little while ago of the Age of Sigmar Extremist box set, and it all looked like a lot of fun. And I thought I could give this a go. And the night haunts looked easy to paint, and I looked at the tree people and went, they look cool. And I've already got a 1,000-point goblin army downstairs from Lockdown 1. And I thought, blow it. I'm going to do some Age of Sigmar. So I've been reading primarily the main rulebook and a few battle tomes to try and work out what the overriding background plot of Age of Sigmar is. You know, what it's all about. You know, so what is gas? No, so what is Age of Sigmar, and how can I do narrative games in it? Because I'm in two minds, right? I'm going to start off with some really small stuff where it's like a town and the surrounding woodland, and do a little sort of campaigny type thing of some like a goblin attack, and then a haunted graveyard, and so on. A few small games, and sort of start small to get myself familiar with the rules and so on. And then it's gone on to, okay, so that's how I'll start. But whilst I'm doing this, I need to build up my knowledge of the game world so I can do bigger stuff. So I'm reading my way through the background section in the rule book. And I think what I am going to do is do AOS, what's the plot type video when I've gone through it all. Similar to what I've done with the Codex reviews, where I just sit with the book in front of me and go, right, now this is this and this is that, and what is a realm? And why are there 8 of them? And why do they unerringly appear to correspond to the 8 schools of magic from Fantasy Battle? Oh, and a penny dropped. I'm like, makes some sense. But what's this? What's this bit? It's like, right, so is there a way I can have all these factions in the same realm? Because I want to play with all these factions. No, right, there isn't. So, okay, so they can only play against them and can only play against them. I'm like, oh, right. So I'm trying to get my head around all that before I try and make any of it bigger. But I need to sort of sit and read it. And if I can see a few suggestions in the chat for content I could watch, and I'm sure I will go to that kind of content at a later date, but I need to be able to flick between pages and cross-reference, and my process of working this out is very much going to be book-related at this moment in time. It's also easier to pick up and put down because, you know, YouTube's in Silicon Valley, and that's just too heavy to pick up and put down. So I've been doing that. So I've painted 1,000 points of Night Haunts now, and I've got 1,000 points of Goblins, although I'm not happy with the 1,000 points I've got because it's got a Shade Spire Warband in it, and I'm going off that idea. So I've bought a Troggoth to paint up. So it will be back to 1,000 points at some point soon. And I had an old Garden of Moor scenery and some old buildings. So I've been doing stuff with those. Giant Cave Troll. Obviously all the Age of Sigmar have got the alternate names for everything. Well, I guess they're not that alternate anymore. They've been doing it like this for 5 years now, which I suppose in Warhammer terms is maybe 20% of it of Warhammer. So I've been doing that, and I managed to put the finishing touches to a few bits last night. I got some trees that I needed to do some stuff with from the model tree shop. They're very good, and I've worked out that if I bought some washers from Amazon to glue them to, and then just sand the bases. They stand up nicely like that. So I've got all those sorted out. Trying to get a few more bits of terrain done ahead of this weekend when I'm being descended on by the deployment zone crowd. And so the rest of my hobby-related brainness this week is clearing space for multiple game tables, and I think it's 8 of them are crashing over, and the rest are in a hotel nearby. Then I've got to work out all my cooking logistics and everything. So that's where my brain's all going at the moment. And I've ended up with a couple of other videos I've got to do before Saturday morning. That time's not relevant. That's just when I want to have them done by. So I've got a couple of those to do. And that's mostly it for hobby stuff. I've not had a huge amount of content to kick out, and we had a long discussion on Discord about it. A lot of the guys said, "Look, just concentrate on being well. Don't feel you have to kick stuff out when you're not well." And I really appreciated that. But so I've just finished a hobby vlog. It's mostly about painting my Nighthawns, actually. And that will go up for members on the weekend. And I'm going to do some hobby vlogs of what the shenanigans are when all the deployment zone guys are here at the weekend. I don't know how many of that, if there'll be much battle reportness going on. But I'll probably have to do most of the filming before lunch. Otherwise, I won't be able to use it on YouTube. Not once the sun's over the yard arm. But it's afternoon in Singapore. Hey! That's what it was like last time. So it remains to be seen how much usable content I'll be able to get. Chapter Master Lexicus, shamelessly plugging Paul Fest. Nice one, sir. Thank you very much. So Paul Fest is an event that I have to say Chapter Master Lexicus is organising at Tabletop Events in Belper on the 23rd of October. It's for channel members. It's a sort of get together, meet each other. We've got a really good Discord community going. It's really nice and chilled and relaxed. And so we're that's Chapter Master plugging that. So if you fancy that, sign up for the Discord, and you can join through that. So there's no way I could do an R-rated vlog. Last time I tried filming in the evening, and I had to delete all the content because there was just no. That was when I was doing my deployment zone vlogs. But now, even if I'm doing private members vlogs, it still has to go through the YouTube processing thing that checks. You have to fill in a little form that says, does this video contain any of these things that we don't approve of? And you're like, yeah, I can't load this. So, Paul's remembering the battle report with Winters and Chewie. Yeah, thankfully that went up on his channel, not mine. So it's probably the vlogging I will do the most editing I have ever done on ever. I'll be filming a bit, and I go, I can't use that bit. I'm going to have to chop the end off it. Ah! Then it'll take me 10 minutes to work out how to do that, and then do that, and then carry on, and then someone will do it again. I'm like, ah! Either that, or I'll have to film very, very, very short clips. And just, if something inappropriate is said, which will be every 20 seconds, I can just throw away that clip or go and find a room with adults in it. Who knows? We shall see. We shall see. So, yeah, Porfest coming around. So, other news at my end. I've mentioned on a number of hobby vlogs over the last over a year that my work contract is due to be finishing. It is actually now finishing. I have actually got a completion date, a finish date, and it's not too far in the future. So I will be taking some downtime after that, and hopefully getting caught up on some channel stuff, and yeah, then looking for another role. Okay, so we have a super chat question from Aaron 582 Railways. Who is your favourite word bearer and why? It is absolutely 100% Argyltal. I think that guy is amazing. He is just so pragmatic and maudlin about existence. He just genuinely wished the whole world did not work that way, and the chaos powers weren't real, and the universe wasn't based around these gods, and they didn't require blood sacrifice, but he knew they did. So he had to just grimly and do what he needed to do. Yeah. Amazing character, Argyltal. There you go. That's my favourite character, and that is why. Those questions don't have correct answers, apparently. Yeah, they do. It's my favourite. My favourite word bearer. I mean, I could have said, the third one on the left who gets blown up on Istvan 5, but his backstory isn't so good. Oh, wow. Alexander Fielding, thank you very much. What are we saying here? Since I should get back to work on this early Canberra morning, as I depart, have a token of gratitude for making my lockdown far more bearable. Anyone not a member should join right now. It's worth it. Oh, man, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That's really, I'm glad I've helped make it more bearable. Thank you, man. So from Sorcerer Dave, have I decided if I'm going to get the Argyltal model yet? Probably not, because I don't do 30k, and it'd feel wrong using him as something else. I don't know. But with my contract coming to an end, my extreme splurging on every model that I see and like, I have to slow right down. I have to slow right down until I find another contract. Yeah, so right, I said I was going to go to Discord, so I will go to Discord and start rambling from there. I think I'm in the right place, because some of these questions are getting on for a couple of months old now, not because of any fault of the people raising the questions or asking the questions, from me not getting to them. And yeah, okay, so question from the Mighty Moog. What were the orcs doing during the Horus Heresy, and why weren't they joining in with the crumping? They had, I haven't read all the Horus Heresy books. They had their the Xenos butts kicked on Ullanor, and what was an orc war was shattered by the Emperor and like half of the legions. So they weren't a threat in the galaxy. They were disorganized. And if you believe what's implied in the Beast Arises saga, a lot of the Orc society hadn't evolved to as threatening a state as it has as it did later on. But in the Heresy, it hadn't evolved to be quite so hazardous as it did later on. The Beast Arises talks about sort of like as Orc society develops, they get more odd boys starting to manifest and more their culture increases, their worship, because with Orcs it's sort of things sort of overlap. I like to quote in I liked a quote in, which one was it? It was in one of the Caiaphas Cain books where Inquisitor, what's her name? Oh man, come on, CPU. Access to data store. Something like Annabelle. It's not Annabelle. Amberley. Inquisitor Amberley Vale. Thank you, Clash. She says that the Orc concept of war is sort of a combination of a rampage and a mass migration. And I sort of like the implication that the sort of greater the critical mass of Orcs get, the more things sort of combine together, and just that the concepts that we would draw out into separate strings just are interwoven with Orcness. Come to think of it, what were any of the Xenos doing, and why haven't GW told us? Sounds like an excuse for a new range of Horus Heresy Eldar and such to me. Well, in theory, the Horus Heresy Eldar should be the same model range as the current ones. In I think it's Fulgrim, the Eldrad Ulthram is trying to warn Fulgrim about the dangers of Slaanesh and chaos, but he was too late. So they're trying to nudge the Imperium in the right direction and failing utterly. And it's one of the reasons why I don't do 30k, because I would love, if it were the same rule set as 40k, I would do a couple probably of Heresy era armies, and I would do some Great Crusade games against the Orcs and the Eldar. Couldn't do Tyranids, couldn't do Necrons. What else could you do? A lot of the other ones they exterminated at the time, like the Hrud and the Mecharachnids. But yeah, I'd like to do a Great Crusade era thing, and you could use them both, but hey. If Epic was released with updated miniatures, would you be as all over it as I would? Oh, yes. I like the idea of going, okay, and here are what are we doing? 5 Lehman Russ tank companies. Good! What are they fighting? Oh, it's a Gargant. Taking Lehman Russ off with a shovel and brush. Yeah. Right, so one here from Paladin Wiggles. I've always been confused the timeline of the Eldar Empire in relation to the Dark Age technology. From what I understand, the fall of the Eldar Empire, birth of Slaanesh, is what caused DAOT, the First Human Empire, Dark Age of technology, to crash around 26,000. Then the Emperor united it after 4,000 years during the Sundering, or whatever it's called. I get names mixed up. Before starting the Crusade around 30,000. And from what we know happens after that. So GW have retconned this quite a bit. And it, depending on what book you read and when the book was written, it's either happens significantly. I think the current retcon is the birth of Slaanesh is what wipes away Old Night and makes warp travel possible again. I don't buy that. It doesn't fit in with everything else we know about the Eldar, the time lag between different events. That makes it all incredibly short. And in the vast majority of the Eldar lore and a lot of the other stories, the gaps between these things are a lot bigger. That the recollection there that I just read out of Paladin Wiggles of it being around about 26,000, that fits. Although I'd venture it. Obviously, that's obviously it's come from a source, but I would, if I was guessing, I'd have guessed it earlier than that even. And I think in the original story, it was the birth of Slaanesh that caused Old Night. I think. I'm not certain. And as I said, they retcon it quite a lot. So it's almost throw a dart in a calendar and then you have to work out what the current Eldar lore is regarding the Eldar Empire's collapse. Question from Mook. What should I be painting during the live stream tonight? Now, you asked that on the 20th of July. So I'm going to say you should paint word bearers then. I wonder if you did. I don't know. Question from Starkiller. Why are the Ultramarines seemingly not limited to 1,000 Marines? My instant reaction is to say bad writing, but it's not bad writing because it's the inability of the authors to be able to tell the stories they want to tell with the restrictions that are in place of from a narrative perspective on that one chapter. And when I say the authors, I don't mean necessarily the novelists. I mean where you've got short stories in a book, you've got anthologies where two guys are writing books on a very similar timeline, and 300 Ultramarines get wiped out. There goes the battle companies. There go the battle companies. I personally think it's a narrative hole, right? It's a narrative wound in the ability of GW to tell consistent stories, in that it takes so long to create these Marines. And even when they're, backfilling, they're saying, okay, a battle line brother died, and so someone from a reserve company takes their place, and then a novitiate becomes a full Astarte. Well, some of the novitiates take it's years to be created, and the rate of attrition makes it feel like. So, for instance, right, in the story of the the Crimson Fists on Ryan's World book's still sat next to me. It makes it very difficult to work. The story of Ryan's World, I mean, the Crimson Fists get knocked down to a couple of hundred Marines in that war, and they're a sort of dwindling chapter and so on. You take a whole bunch of other books and you have similar numbers of casualties within a relatively compressed time, and everything's fine. And then you get, I wouldn't say Crimson Fists were obscure, but they're certainly not one of the ones that are most written about. You then get the ones that are most written about, and the stories here. They're all happening at roughly the same time, and lots of Marines die. So you do have, from that point of view, a sort of narrative hole, a wound, if you like, in the consistency, and what I think I would do is I would have, because, and I'm trying to justify it before I say it, things have moved on from when Gilliman wrote the original codex and went with the structure he went with. And the threats are now very different, and that is widely acknowledged. And that's why in the Indomitus Crusade, he had his unnumbered sons who hadn't taken a legion, the chapter. Therefore, it wasn't a chapter that was too big. And he basically went around with a legion and stomped on stuff to sort of get around the, it's not my legion kind of blag, even though the vast majority of them had his gene seed. So what I think I would have done is I would have changed the original founding chapters and made those Legion strength again, and then had all the successors restricted to chapter strength. And you could do some narrative thing where you say, okay, then within the Legion there are a number of chapters. You'd have like first chapter, second chapter, third chapter, fourth chapter. They'd all be led by individuals who were largely autonomous and managed collectively by a council, similar to how the Iron Hands are. You could put something in the story in place to give you an opportunity to sell new models and get around the no one person should be able to control that many Marines issue. And then you've got a much easier narrative solve to the fact that these are the most popular legions. They get chapters. They get used in all the stories. So yeah, I would do that. I would do that. And I think that, you know, you could definitely have an argument for that. I mean, Gilliman comes back and rewrites the Codex. I mean, I'd love to see something like the Lion comes back and goes, nah, shove this for a game of soldiers. In fact, let's have a game of soldiers. All my successor chapters with me, you're a legion, and Gilliman, this isn't your empire, back in your box. And then, I mean, I've rambled about this before, but then you'd have sort of competing imperial factions with reasons to fight against each other. Because, right, in Ninth Ed, it's a paradox, Ninth Ed, because it's the most competitive edition with competitive-based rules, but GW want to push people down the way of playing more and more narrative. So a lot of the codices that come out at the moment, it's like you can only take one captain, or you can only take one war boss in a detachment because they're the one that's in charge. Necrons, if you've got an overlord, he must be the general. It can't be a lord. If you've got a pharaoh, it must be the general. It can't be an overlord. I am looking forward to seeing what they'll do with the Tyranids with that. I really, really hope so. If you've got a Hive Tower, it has to be the Warlord. And I know that'll make a lot of people unhappy, but from a narrative point of view, that would make me very happy indeed. But only from a narrative point of view. When I eventually get one and it gets obliterated in turn one of the army falls apart, I'll be like, yeah, it does suck. But from a narrative point of view, that would make me very happy. And I have no idea what I was saying or why. I started saying, oh, don't you hate that when your brain just crashes? Yes. So GW, they want to have narrative reasons for things to happen. So one of my biggest bugbears has always been Imperial versus Imperial games. So if I were to go to something, not that I've been invited, I haven't, but if I were to go to something like No Retreat Legends, a tournament, I couldn't take an Imperial army with me because I wouldn't play against an Imperial opponent with an Imperial army. So in an environment where I can't control or can't influence who I play against, I would have to take a non-Imperial army. And in fact, one that I would be able to play against any other army. So I might not take Eldar because I might be more reluctant to play against other Eldar. But then again, Eldar are so low powered at the moment, there wouldn't be another Eldar player there, so it wouldn't really matter. And I digress. Oh, my catchphrase. Yeah, exactly, Dave. Yeah, no more making the Neurothrope the Warlord and still running the Tyrant. It irks me. Everyone should play things my way, damn it. No, they shouldn't. It doesn't irk me. When I watch battle reports and I see people doing that, it's not that I have a problem with it. I'm a big advocate of play 40k your way. But it makes me think, no, it's not what I want to see. It's like, no. If it was a battle report where the Hive Tyrant was the Warlord and running forward and, Tyrant Guard were taking body slams for it left, right, center, like, yes, that's the content I want to watch. And when I see things like that at the start of a battle report, I go, oh. So that's why the Ultramarines are seemingly not limited to 1,000 Marines, is because they can't write the narrative they want to write in all the different places they want to write it and actually have them limited to 1,000 Marines, not without big coordination and timelines. It's like, oh no, they can't fight in this year because in this year, in this other book, 300 of them died. And so, yeah, that's why it feels like there are so many of them. I would legionify them again. I would. It would make me happy. And then the Lion could fight Gilliman. That'd make me happy. And Russ could come back and go, what on earth is going on here? And he'd be like, nah, Legion. And that'd make me happy. And Korax would go, yeah, I mean, they're my Legion. That'd make me happy. You see, there's different flavors of making me happy. And the Iron Hands sit there and go, does anyone know where Ferris's head actually landed? Because I still want that Primarch Dreadnought. But I feel like if you look at the narrative of the Iron Hands, if you go back a couple of editions, the Iron Hands clans were individual autonomous units, kind of like chapters. It just then more recently, it's like, oh no, the first clan is all the veterans and the 10th clan are all the scouts. It's like, yeah, that really doesn't fit. That's why in the narrative I don't do it that way. I say, no. I'm using this particular piece of narrative and saying my clan Cargill is autonomous and it has veterans and it has scouts. It has its own armorarium. And I think in the last one I did in chapter 1 of Maiden World, I said, now I'm assuming this is several hundred Marines because it doesn't make any sense for it not to be, because it's kind of its own chapter. So my own little twist on that. I'm hoping to do that before Christmas, do chapter 2 of Maiden World. I enjoyed that. And some of you may have seen relatively recently on the channel, I did a battle report in the Webway between Thousand Sons and Harlequins. I've actually had that mat. I'm planning on using it in the Webway for about 9 months. I've been sat on it because one of the battles in that next chapter of the campaign is going to be in the Webway. That's going to be Yannari versus Emperor's Children. When I eventually get to it, it's going to be a while. So I thought it was very striking. I really loved the look of that table, but I've used it now. So the impact will be there. It's like, oh, it's this again. It's like, I wanted it to have some purr. But yeah, used it, done it. Right, what else we got? In the 7th Ed Codex, they have the entire second company shown. I don't mind them being more than 1,000, but come on, yeah, same, much the same subject, right? So one from Kobe or Kobe. Apologies if I am not pronouncing that correctly. If you had to recommend 3 books to someone to convince them to love 40k, what would they be and why? Ooh. Ooh. All of 40k. So many different factions. And oh, that's difficult. Okay, I'll just start reading some out. Reading some out. I've got a list. No, but I don't know whether I'll be able to keep this to 3. But tell you what, I'll do 3 Horus Heresy. I'll try and keep it to 3, and then 3 Contemporary because I think they're relevant. But which Horus Heresy? Well, one of my favourites, I think this has to be in the list, is sorry, I'm having a gammy eye moment. Talk amongst yourselves. Ow, 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 ow. Ow, 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 ow. You ain't seen this, right? It's got a bit sharp. I'm getting stabbed. Oh, that's my finger. How could a tissue be sharp? What's that all about? There we go. There we go. Ugh. Hello. Hello. My little furry monster, my little biotitan. She once jumped on a table and bit a lemon rust and tried to drag it off. That's it. Thank you, Dave. Or Toby. No Fear is my absolute favorite Horus Heresy book. Then I'm then I've got a sort of like half a dozen others that I particularly like, but probably the ones that maybe if we go with the ones I've listened to the most, I would probably say Betrayer. Betrayer is an amazing book. It's just superb. Not quite as good. It follows on from No Fear, and it's very much in similar lines. That's one of the reasons I like it so much. But also, I really like Angel Exterminatus. It just fleshes out the Iron Warriors. It really brings the Iron Warriors to life as just a bunch of petulant, belligerent bullies. And it really makes me go, yes, I want to do that. Whenever I think about that book, when I'm just lining up tanks and just shelling things and then not caring what lives or dies. Yeah, it's great. Buried Dagger is another great book, but I'm going to stick to my criteria because I was asked for 3. So the 3 Horus Heresy ones, I would say No Fear, Betrayer, and then Angel Exterminatus in that order. The more contemporary ones, that's interesting because obviously you've got all of the Ravener and Eisenhorn and Beckwin books. Still haven't had the courage to listen to the second Beckwin book yet. I'm scared. So I'm going to discount those because I don't think they lead to 40k as such. They're tangential. So I would probably say it's different. It depends on what genre the person reading or what listening to them actually likes. You definitely want to have a guard book, and that's got to be either probably a Caiaphas Cain or a Gaunt's Ghosts. Necropolis is a. Do I mean Necropolis? the Vervenhive War. I think it's Necropolis. It's a really good book. I think that'd be in there. The Caiaphas Cain ones I enjoy. They sort of bring joy to my heart, but they aren't quite as gritty. So I think Necropolis. Jane Czar. I love that book. I have only listened to it once. I must listen to it again. But it just gives such a beautiful cross-section of Eldari, the Eldari world before the fall and after the fall. But it's all the different flavors of Eldari as well. How, and because there's a lot of flashbacks, it's how Jane Czar goes from being an arena blood warrior from before the fall to being the first Howling Banshee, and it even though the bits with each aren't massive, it really, I think, adds a lot of flavor to Harlequins and Drakari, as well as the Corsairs fleets. It's a real cross section, and I ruddy love that book. The next one, I'm leaving so many out because it's not like it's one of your three favorite guard books, and I could go, oh well, there's this one, and there's that one, and that one, and that one. This is your three favorite 40k books. This is going to be probably a bit random and off the wall for people. I'm going to say Brutal Cunning. It's an Orc Admech book, and I just love. Oh, I've remembered a Horus Heresy book. I think I prefer to Angel Exterminatus. That's Prospero Burns. That's an amazing book. I digress. Brutal Cunning, you see a huge amount of the story told from the Orcs' perspective, and you really genuinely get Orc logic, and not in a we're just, not in a comedy Orc, in a sort of hey kind of way. It's real. I don't get this. Why did I do this? This makes no sense. There's one bit, and I've quoted it half a dozen times, I'm sure, when he goes, make no sense. Umis make no sense. Why did they put a wheel on a door? You can't drive a door. It's just great. And then there's also, on the flip side of it, there's a lot of Admech politics, and there's a dash of heresy, and yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good. Okay, what we got next? From Templar Knight 92. You mentioned the War of the 10 Legions, World East versus Death Guard, that it was strange that Khan would have a sigil of corruption. Why is that? Surely he's been corrupted and enjoys the favor of his patron deity. It's a throwback to Second Ed, where demons and what was true of demons and mortals were very similar. So Tzeentch, Slaanesh, Nurgle were all magical. So the demons all had invulnerable saves, and it's because they were innately magical. But Khorne, being the antithesis of magic, had no invulnerable save. When they manifested physically, they weren't protected by being unreal. They were just effectively warp creations. And I haven't been able to change the settings in my mind that say that Khorne shouldn't have invulnerable saves, because that's magic. It's not just the blood for the blood god ferocity. Khorne doesn't protect. He's not the emperor. Khorne just wants to see the blood flow, and he does not care where from. So that's why. Kevin M. Eldar blog. I don't know if that's the same Eldar blog or a different Eldar blog. Will GW release Noise Marine models? Please say yes. Why are Chaos Space Marines called Warbands? I have a feeling. Sorry, I can just see in the chat. Elliot saying, "Didn't you already answer that one in another stream?" I have a feeling I already answered that one, but I didn't answer the one before it or the one after it, so I have no idea what's happened there. So, will GW release new Noise Marine models? Please say yes. Yes, they absolutely will. I think. They've so far with Chaos, they've made a unique army out of Death Guard, which makes sense. Nice, like, oh yeah, but the Death Guard have got all these things, but they didn't have them before that. Before 8th Ed, the Death Guard had Plague Marines. Pretty much it. And they produced a boatload of stuff for them for that codex. The Thousand Suns, before they did a codex, they had Rubric Marines. Well, they were called Thousand Suns Marines then, but they had Rubric Marines, and that was pretty much it. In some earlier codices, you can make Terminators, Rubric Marines, and Plague Marines, respectively, but not since 3.5 Ed. So I believe they're systematically working through the gods and are going to make each one their own thing. And that, to me, is reinforced by the do I have one I made earlier? That's the Eldar draw. That's the Imperial draw. Hang on. Oh no, that's Orcs. Where are the Chaos Marines? Oh, right. No, I don't have one easily to hand. If you look at the Chaos Marine boxes, they've got the 5 non-god specific legions painted up on them. So you've got Black Legion, Iron Warriors, Alpha Legion, Night Lords, and Word Bearers. They're what's on the box art, and they're also what's on the transfer sheets inside. Now, the transfer sheets also have Thousand Suns on them. However, the Thousand Suns didn't get a transfer sheet in their previous box. I don't think. There was definitely, when they did that list, there wasn't a set of transfers for Thousand Suns, so they put them on there. But there's nothing in there for World Eaters or Emperor's Children, and there was in the previous box set. You used to have all 9 legions on one sheet, and the 4 god ones are conspicuous by their absence from that box set. So I very much believe they're going to do a legions book for those 5 legions, and they're going to do a World Eaters and Emperor's Children. I don't know what order they're going to do them in. I think they'll do Khorne first. Why are Chaos Space Marines called Warbands? Well, I think that's why are they called Warbands? They're called Warbands because in 5th edition, the 5th edition Chaos Marine book, which replaced the 3rd edition Chaos Marine book. I don't think Chaos had their own. It was either the tail end of 4th Ed or 5th Ed when the Chaos Codex was released, Chaos Marine Codex. And they took out all the demons. They didn't want you to have Legion-specific rules in there. They stripped all that out. It was the blandest, most tear-provoking book I have ever seen. It was awful. I could have cried. Totally could have cried. And what they wanted you to do was to say, oh, yeah, but in this group, the legions have all dissolved. They don't exist. They're not a thing. What you've got is a whole... you've got a group of Marines who band together. And, yeah, there might be these 10,000 Suns Marines who are in your war band. And that's where they started doing it. The buying public did not want this. We wanted legions. And that was the era when GW did not care what people actually wanted to play. Thankfully, they aren't nearly as bad now as they were then. Not nearly as bad, but it was awful. It was a dark time. It was a dark time, my friends. It was dark. Where I think that they've not totally rode back from that. They've rode back, but they've not abandoned. They've kept the term warband, as in they've said actually most of the Chaos Legions have dissolved and they aren't effective fighting forces anymore. The notable exceptions are the Death Guard and the Word Bearers. They are still legions in structure and organization. But the rest of them, they've kind of all splintered in anarchy. And if you imagine that it's probably per ship or per what was a captain, what was a company, and over time they acquire this particular demon engine or these particular other troops, or they get an influx of cultists, and actually they get joined by their mates who are actually from a different legion who've had a falling out with these guys or who agreed to betray them and so on. So I would see Chaos Warbands as largely being formed around the bones, the remaining bones of an old company. And I think Warband is an imperial designation that has permeated into the rule set, rather than, I think a lot of those warbands would refer to themselves as companies, is my belief. That's where the terms come from. Okay, what's the chat doing? Do you like Frank Herbert? Will you see the new Dune in the cinema? Probably won't go to the cinema. I'm still far too scared of COVID. I'll probably get it on disc when it comes out. I still miss that third egg codex. Give me back my Chaos Rhinos with chainsaws on the front. Yeah. You think Alpha Legion would be able to stay coherent? Well, yes, but I guess that depends on the extent to which individual commanders become warped or corrupted and have their loyalties twisted. In an organization where their day-to-day is lies and mistrust. As soon as it's like in a lot of these films where, and in fact it happened with the Horus Heresy, as you have one person in charge who betrays, but as soon as that person goes, it's like it's a free-for-all. Once they've got over the hump of betrayal, there's betrayals abound. And I kind of see that will be an issue in certain elements of the Alpha Legion. We got one from Gazgul Thracker. Hi, Paul. Paul Vacuum. Power Vacuum, not Paul. Vacuum. Yes, Power Vacuum. For what I was just talking about. Yes. Power abhors a vacuum. Hello, fellow Paul. Just reading Master of Mankind. What are your thoughts? Right now, my thought is Pepsi shouldn't be inhaled. I think that's it. And the hiccups. What are your thoughts on exploring the webway? From reading a whole bunch of books, I'd like to do more stuff with the webway. With the Necrons use the webway, as do the Thousand Sons and the Elder. I definitely think there's a narrative mind to tap there. Oh God, hiccups. Sorry, I'll try and cure the choking with more choke juice. Doesn't sound good. Ooh, another one. Right. So next one was, should the Chaos Marines have access to more Heresy era war gear? Yes. That's Starkiller 73. I would love that. I would love it if they had more distinct Heresy stuff. Not necessarily, but GW are much more, and I see why. It's fine. It's not the way I'd go, but it's fine. They're going much more towards the chaos, corruption, demon side of things. Not so much the original legions, but more how they've corrupted and twisted and got all messed up since then. So I don't think they will, but I'd love to see them having more Heresy era war gear. It's like it irks me that combi bolters have now got the same stat line as storm bolters, because storm bolters are meant to be an upgrade. They're meant to be better. I don't know what I'd do differently, but Sorcerer Dev's making a very good point there. I would draw what I would do. I would have a Legions book and a Renegades book, and I would differentiate. So I would have Legion squads being 20 strong with 5 heavy weapons, 4 or 5 heavy weapons in the unit, and I'd have chapter Renegades being much more based around a codex. It's more books, isn't it? It's more armies. It's another model range. It's hey. I want the moon on a stick. The moon on a stick. Hill 24. Have you listened to the audio drama Armated Lady? I haven't, I'm afraid. So I can't really pass comment on it. I have not had it. Eldar blog. I think I have about 10. I switched to caffeine free of an evening. Probably between 6 and 10, depending on the day. It's not good. It's not healthy for me. The asparity minute is dissolving my teeth and probably eating my kidneys. Who knows? So Hammerlot. So the discussion with Guard, how to collect them, all infantry, all tanks, or just grab what you can. There's just so much variety. There's just so much variety. It depends what you're doing, right? Because I have 2 Guard armies at the moment. One isn't table ready yet in any way. In fact, only one model has paint on it. And that is a PDF army. And in that army, I want to have all sorts of different options. So I can use, because this army won't be this is flying between battle zones, having lots of fights army. This will be it represents different narrative, different regiments every time I use it because we're on different planets army. My other army is my Ultramar Guard, and I just want all of it. I'm like, okay, I have got an infantry platoon here. Now I want transports, but this is an infantry platoon. So do I do another platoon and then get the chimeras for them? Do I? Oh. Do I? I need tanks, but I want a company, so I need 10 of them. Sentinels, they come in companies, so I need 10 of them. Or at least multiples of 3. It's like, yeah, okay, so right, well, how do I want to use them? Okay, you look at a book and it says, right, well, what they do is when they're in certain scenarios, they do clump things up together. So, okay, we're defending the city, so actually this Lehman Russ company, we're going to put one of you here, one of you here, one of you here. You're going to bolster all the lines. Fine, great. When you're narrative playing, it doesn't always work. It's like, okay, we're doing we're assaulting this city. Actually, there's no narrative reason for that whatsoever. What we actually really need is these 10 tanks attacking that stronghold, that strong point. Righto. How do I work that into the... Andy H, welcome to level 2 exclusive content. Hi, Andy. Welcome aboard. Sorcerer Dave, Imperial Guard armies are such a bottomless pit. They are. Clash of Dice, I think the fluff for Imperial Guard, you can legitimately put together an army more or less any way you like, because dozens of regiments you totally can. But many of them simply get lost in the warp in transit. Yeah. Paul Claxton, been burning through the Caiaphas Canes after hearing you mention it. I now want to buy the Start Collecting Astra Militarum set. Yeah. No, not back to the Guard, not yet. That's the problem. I've now got, I think, 50 armies on the go. 50. 50. I want to do them all. Yeah. From Zombie Fried Rice, do you think they'll have Chaos Cults as a faction? I really hope so. I would dearly love, and I've rambled about this before, I would dearly love a Chaos Cults book, a Traitor Guard book, which the old Lost and the Damned, where you could combine Marines, demons, and mutants and heretics together. Because in most of the so many of these narrative books, sorry, excuse me a second. So many of these books, the bad guys are humans. The entire Sabbath World Crusade are against Traitor Guard. You can't play it. Okay, you could say I'm using the Guard rules and it doesn't work for me. Okay, so I'm using this Primaris Psyker as a sorcerer. Can he create? No, he can't. Oh. Can I fry their brain? No, you can't. Oh. Can I curse them with Wibble? No. Oh. You could say that's what you're doing, but just despite the fact that I have my own house rules on the channel, homebrew has never really worked for me, and proxying has never really worked for me, using different rules for things. I just can't get myself into it. I just can't. The very few narrative rules I have are what I consider to be the minimum to enable the game to play narratively, and for a lot of practical reasons, right? I mean, as a content creator, you have to stay as close to the rule set as you possibly can, because the more you deviate from it, the smaller your audience gets. And and it's a balancing act, right? Because I won't compromise my principles to the extent that I'm going to play some very unnarrative rules that are in the main rule set. But equally, I want to have as wide a reach as possible. I don't want to be saying, right, I've got this bespoke army, this bespoke codex that I've written for my word bearers, this bespoke codex for the Iron Hands. And we're now going to, people want to relate, they want to relate it to their games. And you just don't get it's engagement, and it's striking that balance between doing what you want to do and getting as good a reach. And it's not just for me about numbers and money and that side of things, because the channel growth has slowed down quite significantly. It's not showing any realistic prospect to me being able to do it full time. And that's fine. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the notion that I'm probably reaching my target audience, but I want as many people as possible to be able to enjoy it. I get a lot of pleasure out of the fact that people enjoy what I do. Yeah, I really do. I really like it that people like it. So how did I get onto that? That wasn't even the question. The question might have been hello for all I know. I believe the accepted method is to inform a planetary governor that they are required to tithe, then show up with an Imperial Navy transport fleet on the appointed Foundation Day. Thanks, Moog. You are correct, technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. However, I don't think that's what the question was getting at. Will GW, another one from Starkiller 73, will GW ever split the units how they are in the law, i.e., infantry belong to a strictly infantry regiment? Discuss. No, they won't. Because they want to have as few restrictions on how people can choose their army as they want to. In one or other editions, Space Marine units, they didn't say you had to have 10 models, but you couldn't take special weapons or heavy weapons unless you had 10 models. And guess what? They became less popular and they didn't sell as well. People don't want to be told how to play. So GW will never, in my opinion, unless they go through a significant shift to wanting to make less money, which they will never again produce books that force you into, and I contradicted something I said earlier. Things like you can only have one war boss that's not saying things like you can only take shooter boys if you are Death Skulls. That would be people going, but I want to take shooters and I'm Evil Sons. I want to play Evil Sons and I want guns with orcs with guns. A little bit like Spungle Fours. So no, GW will give as many people as many options as they can have to play the armies they want to play. Even if they encourage certain styles of play, they don't want to shut the door to people who want other styles of play. Right, where are we at with the chat? You need to celebrate the 50th Army. Can we all come over for a curry? There's no words. I mean, I can come over because I live here, and I can have a curry because I'm a grown-up. I can eat what I like. Although, in the last 2 weeks of stress, I managed to put on about 1.5 stone. Having just lost about 1 stone in the previous 8 weeks. So, less curry now, more lettuce. I like curry. Traitor Guard with Stalk Tanks and Wirewolves and all the other lovely weirdness from the Ghost books novels would be so good. Yep, they would. But you know what? I'd settle at the moment for them doing what they did with Chaos, with Brood Brothers, doing a couple of upgrade sprues using the Guard units and another list and a couple of extra units to sort of scatter in, and then building it up over time like they've done with the AdMech and the Genestealer Cults and all the other newer armies. They start with about 3 or 4 kits in a new range and then build up from there. I'd settle for that any day of the week right now. You could do Renegades and Heretics from Forge World Legends. I could, but they don't support those things for very long. I mean, I could have done an Eldar Corsairs list. It's not supported. And I wouldn't be able to take it many places. It wouldn't be familiar to many people in the game. People viewing, I've got to think about the reach. I also don't want to customize an army that might be totally deprecated. So yeah, that's why not. Chapter Master Electricus, an awesome content creator, Paul. Were you talking about me? I choose to believe you were. Paul Richards, who's fun to play as against Space Marines? I want to play my bro, but I can't bring myself to bring guard against him as I'm a lore monkey and it feels a bit wrong. Against Space Marines, what are your choices? I like the idea of doing Necrons against Space Marines. I like, mainly because of how cool the Ninth Head launch video was. That's one of the reasons why my Necron army is being built up. Can't see it, most of it's here. I've built a few more things like that. I've done my Warriors and my Scarabs and the Wraiths now. But I got distracted with Nighthorns. Back onto some of those in a bit, because I painted the Nighthorns now. Yeah, maybe Necrons, because they can punch through quite a lot of power armor in ways that I consider to be narratively legitimate, not by being a grot with a sharp stick. I would go there. I'd be triggered if I go there. And I don't want any chance of go there. Chapter Master Electricus off to Warhammer World this Saturday. Think I may have to take out a loan before I go. Yeah. You need to sell a kidney. Yeah. Christian McBride, Paul, you should create a Soul Drinkers army for your next. You've got nothing like that, I think. Soul Drinkers loyalists? I can't remember. I'll look them up. Although I wanted to cut down the number of new armies. No words. No is a word. Thanks, Moog. I can always rely on you. Chapter Master Lexicus' kidneys aren't worth much after the years of abuse. A Death Guard army must take a Psyker in a battalion. Is that forcing you how to play? Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's... It does. It does kind of force you how to play, because it's saying that... yeah, if I was playing some sort of Mortarian's Chosen Sons and wanted to stay away from Psykers, I'd be annoyed at only having that choice. Yeah. I don't think that's intentional. I think that's them saying, oh, you can only have one Lord, and then not looking at the consequences of that. We could do a homemade curry pot look for Paul Fest. Everyone brings a curry and Paul can have some of ours. Well, a lot of people will be coming from a long distance, and I don't know what the refrigeration and the reheating facilities are like at tabletop events. I think unrefrigerated meat products are probably a recipe for time off work. Some chips from the George. Yeah, a bunch of you guys went to the recent deployment zone days. It looks like you had an absolutely amazing day. I flirted with the idea of coming along. I just wasn't up to it mentally. I'd have been the sort of... I wouldn't have been my best Paul. And I don't want to share my non-best Paul when I don't have to. So I did art therapy. I painted Nighthorns and watched DVDs in the background. I'm most of the way through Fringe now. Favorite series of all time. Even grots have their day. Yes, Software. And a grot has its day by successfully getting the Space Marine to roll under his armor save, not by piercing his breastplate with a sharpened stick. And calm. But yes, even grots have their day. I have witnessed grots firing through the eyes of Terminators and wiping out a unit before. Blindside, do you ever sell your armies, Paul? Just curious at what point you feel it's time to move on from an army. I've sold 3 armies in the past, and it was because I had a desperate need for money, not anything else. And I sold them in reverse order in which I liked them. And I bitterly regret the loss of one of them. Actually, no, it wasn't because I didn't like that one. It was because Fantasy Battle had been discontinued and Chaos Dwarves had been discontinued, and they were worth a lot of money, and I desperately needed it. I wish I hadn't had to sell those, but I did. Loyalists, but touched and tricked by the dark side. Oh, right, that'll be the Sword Drinkers. Okie dokie. Plenty of chance for mutation, librarian leads for Spider. Okay. Deployment Zone was amazing. Very much hyped for Porfest. Yeah, I really want to get to a Deployment Zone day, and I'm really looking forward to Porfest. It's going to be awesome. Andy H, I heard you mentioned AOS, so I smashed the join button. Yeah, the AOS is a little way off. It's a little way off. I've not got all my armies ready yet. I'm going to try and have some practice games this weekend with some of the Deployment Zone guys. Probably won't be on camera. It might be, I don't know. It's probably going to be in October when I start filming the AOS. But I have got some other AOS content. If GW ever send me any books to review, I'll be doing those. I also want to do a video on the narrative of AOS, and I'm the hobby vlog that's going up for members this weekend. That's got Night Haunts in it. So yeah, there's AOS stuff coming. I'm just not quite there with the bat reps yet. They're a little way in the future, but soon, I hope. Soon, assuming everything goes to plan. Cthulhuid one. Even a not good poor must be better than 99% others that are best. Well, it's very kind of you to say. Just hope we can make Porfest as good. Porfest will be its own thing, and I'm sure it'll be awesome. I'm really looking forward to hanging out with as many of you guys as can make it. It's going to be great. No rush on the AOS. I've had Skaven probably for years. Never played a game. Ironically, Skaven are some of the models I've got hanging over from Fantasy Battle I never painted. I'm toying with the idea of doing some of them, but that would put me on to like an 8th army. Eighth AOS army. So the story with AOS, right, is so obviously I had a whole bunch of Fantasy Battle stuff from when they killed off Fantasy Battle. And I think I'm going to make this the last bit of the ramble of the evening because we're getting to that time. But so I obviously had Fantasy Battle armies that I still had significant stuff to do. One of which was Skaven. I only had about half them done. I'd done all my clan rats and all my Skaven slaves and all that stuff. I'd done most of my infantry, but not done a whole bunch of my war machines and some of my elites. My Dark Elves, I had about 1,500 points. I had a whole load of Dark Elf warriors still to do, and Dragon and Cold Ones and other bits. I'd done most of my Ogre Kingdoms. I'd done most of my Vampire counts. And I had just started doing Empire, so I had about 500 points of Empire and about another 500 points on the shelf in boxes. And I'd just bought some goblins on eBay. I bought a batch of gobbos. Then, like a lot of Fantasy Battle players, I took my bat and ball home when I wanted to try AOS. I wanted to play it, but some of the things they did at the start, and they didn't reverse until quite a while later, they just turned me off to it, and I never got turned back onto it. Things like, no, there are no points. It's just the number of models you bring. You do 50 models against 50 models, and it's just a model. You don't measure from bases. You measure from the tip, from any point of the model. Things like that just switched me off. Totally switched me off. And the fact that there were 2 spells, no spell laws. I went from like having high wizards that could, or dark wizards that could use. Yeah, I hated that. About 18 months ago, Crimson's niece got really interested in painting, and we got her a couple of starter sets. One was Nighthaunt and one was Stormcast, and she started doing some painting on there, and we got I got a Mortal Realms subscription. The idea was that I could sort of we'd do them together as a bit of a fun thing, and we could sort of build it up and learn to play the game. Then a coronavirus happened, a lockdown happened, and on the other side of it, she wasn't that interested in anymore. So that left a huge amount of Stormcast Eternals and Nighthaunts. So I'm like, okay, I've got those. When she was picking those up, I thought, right, well, I need to do something to play against so we can learn how to play it together. And I had a load of gobbos, so I thought I'll do these goblins as AOS. I'll stick them all on round bases, then I sort of fleshed that out to 1,000 points, and that stayed on the shelves because of lockdown, and then priorities changing and life moving on and all that stuff. But with the subscription, I'd ordered the premium subscription, and what that gave you was a little box of a taster of other things. So it had a little box of Slinerneth, a little box of corn guys, a little box of Uruk War thingies, and a little box of flesh eater courts. So I've sort of got little proto armies of all of those. And since that point, and I've been looking back and reading into it, I've been going, well, do you know what? Some of these old Empire ones I've got, I'm unlikely to ever flesh out my Empire army as a fantasy battle army. And when they do the old world, the models aren't going to be compatible, or they're going to be new, because these aren't the best models anyway. So I thought I'm unlikely. And also, Nuln is not going to be a thing. Sorry, not Nuln, Avaland, which is my colour scheme. Avaland isn't going to be a thing. So I'm like, right, okay. What can I actually do here? Maybe I can use some of these as sort of the defenders of this town that I'm going to have a fight over. Then I discovered the existence of the Cities of the Empire book. I'm like, ooh, okay, so this makes sense. So in this realm, the Dark Elves settled in that city, and this settled in this city, and it's like, right. So whichever realm you're in, you can do based on cities. So I can do like an Empire type cities in the same realm, and I can, and my mind's sort of gone 10,000 directions, because I'm going, oh wow, with my Slineth, I could actually do some Wood Elfy type things from the city of, I can't remember the name of, Grand Alliance of Order, and then all the Uruks and their mass migration, and it's like, so, and then I bought a cobbled street mat, which is really cool. I like it. And I bought some pre-painted houses. And I'm like, okay, so this is going to be a town, because I want to actually have fights in a town where, the rampaging enemies are actually but not every battle's in a field or a ruin. I don't want to be in a field or a ruin. I want to be defending the town. It's like, what else attacks towns? Does this map have sewer grates on it? It does. Skaven. So I've got 2 painted AOS armies. I've got a boatload of Stormcast Eternals, and then little bits and bats of about half a dozen other things. And although I did initially think I wanted to do Slinerneth rather than Nighthaunts, so I ordered some Slinerneth, but they hadn't arrived at the time I wanted to start painting, so painted the Nighthaunts first. So I've got 1,000 points of Slinerneth as well, in boxes, and I'm like, what next? So I've ended up with probably like 10 AOS armies overnight. most of which I haven't gone out and bought. I've acquired through various different minis. I haven't sort of gone, right, let's get into this Age of Sigmar malarkey. I'll have one of everything. Didn't do that. So it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen how much I get into it. Obviously, I want to do things I want to do, but I also want to make sure I'm content you guys want to watch. So I need to make sure I balance it in with the 40k and the Aeronautica. Some of you are loving the tiny planes, tiny planes. Enjoying the tiny planes. It's great to play with the claw again. It's since he packed in 40k and obviously COVID, not played with him very much. So it's really good to be doing that. Tiny planes. Yeah, and all the other things I want to do. But we shall see. Anyway, I think I have rambled for long enough. Just a quick wrap up in the chat. Yeah, 40k used to have Beastmen in it. Mutants, basically. That's something I'd like to see in like Tracer Guard armies. The ability to have mutants of the Chaos Forces. Moog, Painted Avalan 2. Awesome. Good man. And on that happy note, I'm going to say a big thank you for everyone for joining me. Massive thank you for everyone who has super chatted. And welcome to the new members we've acquired throughout the stream tonight. That's great. I'm really pleased. Our man, another one from Luke Vickery. Paul, as a guy who you have indirectly made me get my orcs from Loft. Any thoughts on the new codex? Yeah, there's bits in it I like. There's bits of it I'm not so keen on. I did a review. Has that gone out already? Yeah, I did a review on the Orc Codex, which I put up last Saturday. GW were good enough to send me a copy of it, so I did a review of it. There's some stuff in it I really like. I love the new WAR rules where you declare it and it applies to the whole army, and then it's got like a residual effect as the WAR energy sort of slowly, it builds up, then it sort of cools back down. I really like that. What else do I like? I like what they've done with the Daka guns and the some of the other guns becoming heavy, like the rocket launchers. It never made sense to me from a narrative point of view that just because the orcs will always move and fire them, that they should be assault weapons, because it doesn't make them better shots just because they like to run and gun. So I personally like that. There are some very nice, very amusing stratagems in there, and the warlord traits are really cool. One of the stratagems, particularly, the ability of a truck, if it's about to explode, for you to drive it 6 inches first, I think it's hilarious. I like that a lot. What else? I haven't got it in front of me, and it's obviously not in the app yet because it isn't actually released yet. Not so keen on what they've done with the Weird Boys. There's some of the spells. Some of the spells are a little bit manipulative-y rather than just brah, which is what I associate with orc spells. Obviously, very disappointed they haven't reintroduced Power Vomit, which was my favourite orc psychic power of all time. Why that isn't in there, irks me. It irks me. I don't like what they've done with the mob rule thing. All that gives you now is you never count as being below half strength, so you don't run away as easily. It just doesn't do it for me narrative wise. The more orcs you get, they're utterly fearless. Nah, it's the direction of travel with Night Dead Codices and the rule set, but not keen on that. What else? I quite like the way they've introduced the beast snaggers by doing them as like an overlay on top of any other clan, where they've got their own thing and you can't have beast snaggers from any clan. I like they've done that in a way that actually makes it feel right. These are orcs that they just feel the thrill of the hunt, irrespective of what clan they're from. So I like that. I like that. But yes, sorry if that's if I'm cheaping out there. But they're the standouts for me. I think the highs and lows. Nothing else I can particularly think of off the top of my head. Unfortunately, I haven't got the book in front of me, and I haven't played it yet. Yeah. So yes, massive thank you to everyone who has super chatted and joined, and big get well soons to Crimson, who hasn't been able to join us tonight, who is quite poorly. Sorry, I haven't got a list of everyone's name to read out to say thank you to specifically. I think I caught everyone as we went through. Sincere apologies if I didn't, and if I didn't manage to get to your question, it wasn't on purpose. It just must have fallen through the cracks. Tiny bit of capitalism before I go. If you want to support me, the two easiest ways of doing it. One is to become a channel member. Gives you access to the Discord where most of these crazy cats who are in the chat hang out on a regular basis, and it is just as nuts. And also gives access to all my premium content. There's a year's worth of backlog in. There's about 10 months worth of backlog in there now, and it's a little bit slower at the moment, but it's still the stuff's still coming out. So still plenty there to get your teeth into. The other way is if you shop at Element Games, and I have a discount code. Not a discount code. It's a promo code that's in the description of the chat. Use that promo code, and you get double crystals, which is store credit, and I get a few crystals as well. And if you click on the affiliate link to actually take you to Element Games, it tells you that you've come from me. And the more people come from me, the more they like me. And it's good to have large gaming megastores liking you. Yes, it is. Anyway, so that's the post-ramble capitalism. Great to hang with you all, folks. And stay safe, and I shall see you all in the next one. Take care. Bye for now.